discussion on Buddhist Studies Meets AI. And I would like to start with the presentation of Dr. Hwang, Soonil. He has some interesting program to show us. So could you please start, Ajahn? Thank you, Kap.
This is not about presentation, but I'm just showing you what AI can do in Buddhism. And Dongguk University is working with the Berkeley AI Center, where they have AI translation project is going on. The site was called the Buddha Nexus, and they are aiming at translating Pali, Sanskrit, Tibetan, and Chinese. And Sanskrit and Pali is relatively easy because Pali we have an English translation. So AI need a deep learning. So Pali sentence with the English translation, if we do the deep learning, the outcome is getting better and better and better. Sanskrit as well, we have a translation of Veda, Upanishad, and so on. So the outcome of Sanskrit as well is, I have to say, excellent. And the Tibetan, just 6 months ago, Indian government asked Berkeley AI Center to translate the whole Tibetan Tipitaka into English. Oh, they are now doing it. Not perfect, but the outcome is very nice. And the Dongguk University is involved in Chinese version because in Haeinsa Temple in South Korea, we have 84,000 wood block preserved there. And Korean government want that wood block translate into multiple languages. So this program we can translate into English first. So from English, we can translate it into Korean, Japanese, Spanish, and so on. It's very easy. And another one we'd like to do is making various versions because Tipitaka, the content is very difficult. For example, Abhidhamma for children almost impossible. But the early canon, it's a kind of a narrative and so on. It can be good for the young generation as well. So what is good about this kind of AI translation is that once we have a good translation, we can make different versions. Maybe we can ask AI, please make it for general public. Please make it for scholars. Please make it for the student. It can all do it. So I have to say, this is the future of textual study of a Buddhist text. Still long way to go. Not yet. But today I'd like to show you just one thing. In Korea, we have a Central Sangha University where one teacher teach Sanskrit Sangdi for 1 semester. So all students do the Sangdi for 1 semester. But one tool Berkeley AI Center developed was a Sanskrit Sangdi split program. It's working really well. So I will just show you this one. Mahayana Sangraha. If we have this kind of a Mahayana Sangraha version, I just put one whole sentence here and copy it. Put them into here and learn the Sangdi. And all the word, separated, and the verb showing in the root formation so that you can easily find out from the Monier Williams Sanskrit dictionary. I checked it with the various Buddhist texts. It's working really well, even better than me. You know, sometimes we have a problem with finding out present perfect. You know, some kind of archaic form. But this program can easily find out all those things, you know, no problem, without any problem. So another one, maybe. So this is a verse. Maybe, papam. The verse is not easier, you know. Usually, long sentence is more easier, but even then, it is working fine. You know, papa na Korean, maybe from Greek, Sanskrit root formation. So everything is here. So you can see the kind of possibility you can see with this kind of spirit. Translate into English is a lot easier, I have to say. The problem for the future of AI translation is actually Chinese one. Because Pali, Sanskrit, and Tibetan, we have endings through which we know this is a subject, object, and so on. But Chinese, we rely on the placement. So AI has got problem. And also in Chinese text, some of them translate from Indian one. So we have some kind of rule we can see. But Chinese own text generated from China, different. So distinguishing the two texts is one thing they have to work with. And also, you know, the place of the word in the sentence is different. So it is not easy. So Berkeley people approached to me to use our Korean translation of Tipitaka when they translate Chinese. So I asked them, this is a Korean translation. You can't understand what is going on there. And they said, no problem. We just want to know whether the word is used as a subject, object, and verb. That's it. And then we put large amount of Korean translation from Chinese into the computer, and we did a deep learning. And then the outcome was, how can I say, totally, you know, transformed, and it become really well. So Korean government, you know, I'm talking with the Korean government, and they are interested. They want to put some money on here to translate whole Korean Tipitaka in just one click. And then we can keep improving it. So with this kind of technology, you know, getting better and better, maybe publication of the book, I don't think is important, you know, the paper book, because we can keep improving, and we can make various versions for monk, versions for adult, versions for scholar, version for children, and so on. So there might be a big change, you know, soon occur. I just show you this one. So Buddha Nexus. So the big thing happening in Dongguk University is that we no longer teach Sangdi to our students, checking this program. Okay.
Thank you, Captain Cap. Thank you, Cap. I would like to invite the speakers to on the stage to share the roundtable discussion. Ajahn Alex Wynne, visiting researcher, Chulalongkorn University. Ajahn Rathnasiri, Rathnayaka, Postgraduate Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies, University of Kelaniya. Ajahn Soonil, please stay with us for more session from Dongguk University, and Ajahn Ingjin, College of Religious Study, Mahidol University. Please. Thank you, everybody. So I would like to start with the translation machine that Ajahn Soonil just showed us. What about your opinion about the program and any suggestion or any idea that Buddhist and AI can come together in your mind.
I just want to mention just one thing. They have a old system, but the learning the system is very expensive. Because when I asked about their system, they said they have one main computer with 16 graphic card. So one translation, they just put it, and the whole system is learning for 10 seconds, very intensively. So they turn on the computer for all day. The electricity bill is going very high. The institute will bankrupt. That's why they turn on the full capacity of a computer only necessary. So we need more funding, if we would like to continue. So we still have some problem.
โอเคครับอาจารย์Wynne please ครับ
So I know very little about what Professor Soonil just showed about the Buddha Nexus. I know that I think there's people from Vienna and Berkeley involved in this. And I did speak to them about a year ago. And since I found out what they were up to, our AI technology has just, leapt forward massively. So I don't know how that is affecting what their work is, but I suppose it will be improving it very significantly. But with these new tools, ChatGPT, I had somebody who said, here, I asked ChatGPT to translate some part of the Dhammapada. And I said, okay, let me have a look at it. And it's actually quite good. But then I suppose that has the whole internet as a resource. And there are many translations of the Dhammapada. That's an easy text to begin with. So I said, why don't you try and do it with a Pali commentary? Obviously, Pali commentarial language is a lot more complicated than the language of the suttas and the sutras. And it wasn't very good at all. You couldn't really understand it. I'd say maybe 20 to 30% of a page of the commentaries was translated in an understandable way. So that has a long way to go just yet. I suppose the aim, I would say realistic aim would be if you can get sort of 60 to 70% correct translation of the commentaries, that is something that then a person can look at it and correct, and it will make the whole job of translating quicker. Because one of the major tasks next in, say, Pali studies is to translate all of the stuff outside of the Pali canon. We have commentaries, we have post-canonical literature. AI is still some way off from being able to give something approximating a good translation. So it's not even at a stage where human beings can look at the translation and work with it. But it's changing so quickly, right? I mean, we meet here again in another year, maybe that will be solved. I don't know. So AI as a supplement to what we're doing in academia will be a massively helpful tool. And I have no idea where it's about to get to, but with Pali studies, it will very soon, I think, be aiding us significantly.
Thank you ครับอาจารย์ please ครับ
Yeah, thank you very much for the occasion. So I think actually it's a good suggestion, and as far as these studies are concerned, as Professor Soonil said, actually, so now the children are not to be dedicated too much, spending time, and even the teachers don't have to spend so much time teaching Sandhi, so it's very easy for them to, so that's actually sort of time saving. However, AI, that can be applied, and that's a big process, and even the expert hands are necessary. So as far as these translations are concerned, all the canonical texts, commentaries, sub-commentaries, glossaries and annotations have to be properly translated. Even AI is applied there. Actually, I don't have much about the technology and all that, but anyway, even there should be, as Professor just said, there should be correct definitions. And even with the PTS, our scholars here and abroad say that they have some misinterpretations. So sometimes interpretations are not sufficient enough. Anyway, AI can be applied if the AI is okay in the context of Pali translation, and that's to be handled with the expert hands. In the collaboration of almost all the expert, veterans in Pali. Then it's with such an approach that we should actually apply AI. So regarding that, even personally, I like it very much to happen. Thanks.
Thank you, Kap. Adan Asian, please.
Sorry, Kap. My opinion is that now we have AI, and AI seems to be a trend, and this trend is not going to go away. So the question we ask ourselves is, should Buddhism embrace AI in a way? And AI, as we know, they are learning through what is internet and what are the previous work that has been done, and they get better. More people ask questions, then they get better. So do we wanted to support that development or not? Whether we wanted to, because in future I felt that lay people, when they want to learn Buddhism, they will go to AI. They will just go to things like ChatGPT, and then they try to seek answer, kind of like the Wikipedia of specific answer. So we also want to make sure that the answer that they get from this AI is also pretty accurate. So therefore, we also need to work with the AI to go so that in future we will not get a wrong answer in terms of a wrong understanding about Buddhism. That's one way. That's my first thought, that we should actually embrace AI so that, in future it will reach out to wider audience, and they don't have to come to school, or they don't have to meet a scholar personally, or to just wait for specific articles to appear in the journals before they learn about a specific subject. That's my first thought. I think we should embrace AI. Secondly is about the training of the future scholars, because now with all this AI, they don't have to really do a lot of research. But then we still need someone to kind of like provide the basic structure, the base for the AI to be accurate, right? So we also have to think of how we want to train them to do the traditional way of learning Sanskrit, memorizing the sandhis, the declension, still works, or we are just like, okay, now we have a calculator, we don't really need to memorize the timetables and things like that. So that's another area we want to look at. The other one is on governance. That's governance in the sense that to ensure the AI generated the answer is kind of like accurate in a way. Kind of like, not just to put it example, like if you don't misinterpret what the understanding of Buddhism is. And then with the internet, we have so many like fake news and things like that, and different people try to sabotage and providing wrong information. So how we can actually make sure that these AI tools, which seems to be going to be the future tools for maybe future generations to seek answer, whether it's correct or not. That's my third point. In terms of for personal research, I find with all this translation, one of the research things that we really like to, as a researcher, is we want to see parallel passage, just that whether this thing has been preserved in Tibetan traditions or the Chinese traditions. So if AI can actually pull that out, there will be a great advantage, I would say. Yeah, that's personally my thought.
Thank you, Kap. I captured from your answer, and I quite agree on the learning process, and I think it's quite important. So I want to ask you all about the coming of AI and the translation technology, comparing between the time saving and the practicing of the skills, because we all know the language needs skills, right? So what do you think, in your opinion, about the weight of the time saving and the practicing skill using AI, and what is the line on that? Ajahn Soonil, could you please start, please?
Okay. The AI translation is just the start. This is not the completed one. Maybe another 10 years we should complete. But in order to train, the artificial intelligence doing the correct things, we need the expert, influence to do that. So I think we still need, scholar doing, Sanskrit, Pali, Tibetan, and Chinese. Their expert knowledge is required to do that. But once we completed, all the mistakes we corrected, and so on, then maybe in 20 years or 30 years, no longer, the scholar for translation required. Maybe that time will come, but not at the moment. So we keep educating students. But I have to say, in Dongguk University, in undergraduate, we have about 200. A Sanskrit class, always less than 5 person, it's an endangered species. Pali as well, this term, minimum number to enroll is 10. I remember 6 or 7, so it might be closed. Chinese as well, young generation of Korean people no longer wants to read, very, very complicated Chinese, they do like to study. So there are two sides. With the AI technology, for the learning, so such difficult languages, make it easier. Anyone can do that. For example, Sangha spirit, we can skip large part of difficult part of Sanskrit, just like that. With the AI technology, we have a time-saving process we can enjoy. But on the other side, maybe young generation gave up. Computer will do it. Why do we have to bother? That sort of spirit can occur. So there are two sides. Maybe I have to say.
There are two sides, and I think just a few thoughts that I have on that is, well, this is part of a much bigger cultural change which is happening now. Artificial intelligence will be able to do anything that we can do, and probably do it better. So then a lot of people are just going to stop thinking, creating, doing. This will certainly be true in our field, but it's a wider cultural problem. And that is quite worrying. I mean, if I look back to about 25 years ago when I started graduate studies, started learning Pali and Sanskrit seriously. So that first 2 years of intense learning of Pali and Sanskrit, it was like I could feel my brain changing. It was like my patterns of thinking changed, my way of analyzing things changed. I was learning new abilities. And so you sort of transform in the process and you learn lots of things. And the person you come out at the end is in many ways quite different. If we have artificial intelligence, we don't have that. A lot of people are just going to say, forget that, I'll just put Netflix on. I will just get artificial intelligence to do what I need to do. And so it's not just that, you can get a machine to do Sanskrit. It's you will not be able to grow as a human being and as a person by not having to go through that process of learning. So I think that is really worrying. And I think it's already happening now in technology in a more simple way. In that when I was younger, I grew up having 3 channels of TV and the radio, as that was the only media that I'm exposed to. And no mobile phones, nothing. You read books and you did things like that. I wouldn't be able to do that today because it's just so tempting just to switch the TV on, all of these streaming services. And so you're not making this sort of effort anymore. So I think this has profound implications beyond Buddhist studies and, beyond how we think of studying Buddhism. But within Buddhism, I just hope that in Dongguk that they still are learning Sandi, despite this tool, at least. Ways of doing things like that, which I know certain Sanskritists who get obsessed with this problem of Sandi, and they want to. They think it's not required and it's superfluous to understanding the language. therefore they don't. They try and think of ways around it, and all of these things, all these tiny ways of learning, are quite valuable.
Actually, to answer your question, exactly that is actually time saving one. So as far as technology concerned, that's effective and more swift, and actually that's okay. Now AI is becoming a ground reality, and we have to accept it. We can't avoid it. But as far as Pali translation is concerned, the Pali is actually not a mere language. So mostly it's very difficult for us to give a concrete idea for Pali words, for let's say the dukkha. So now that is involved not only with the denotation, the mere meaning, the surface meaning, but it is connected with deep philosophical, spiritual meaning. Therefore, it is usually in wider dimension. Therefore, we have to be very careful in translating. Although we apply AI there, that's actually the humans are involved in that. So with regard to the wider meanings, that philosophical meaning that the Buddha really conveyed when he was expounding Dhamma, that has to be actually understood. Therefore, sometimes, as Professor said, that it will take a lot of time. And we need sometimes, if a presentation or let's say interpretation goes wrong, if it is out of context, which leads to a sort of even a subtle misinterpretation. So we have to need another AI to correct it. Therefore, it's a big task, and we have to face it. And even the young generation, we know that they are quick and very fast enough to grab and embrace these. So even the scholars, older scholars, they have to be in line with this technology. And anyway, the expert hand is very necessary to avoid these confusion complications. So AI can be used towards development. So with deeper concern regarding those challenges. Okay, that's.
Thank you, Khap.
Okay, just this talking about this AI reminds me about a stand-up comedian joke that about this Amazon, like, the AI is now deciding for the customer prime before the customer feel that they need the product, and then they will send the product to them. So my point is that AI is going to be there, and the user are generally not people like us, scholars who are dedicated with our work and love for the text. They want quick answer, they want to look for solutions. So now the challenge is how we can use AI to our advantage in a way, as a tool to educate AI in a way to favor kind of like provide the right answer in a way. So that's my first thought, and how we can do our work in such a way, for example, providing the pool of translations, correct translations, so that people can get the right answer when they just ask the machine to provide them with the answer. So that is my part of how we should use the AI. So therefore, my thought is, if AI has taken over certain part of our role, the traditional role. So what else can we do actually? But I felt that AI would not be able to take away the spiritual needs of the people and also the emotional needs of the people. And this is where Buddhism also is part of the answer for that, and see how we can approach in a different way. Thanks.
As I can catch from all of you saying that the process of learning is still important, especially in terms of Sanskrit and Pali language. And so right now we can see the trend of learning language online, like Pali online, Sanskrit online. I believe there's some of them online. And I want to ask you about this thing, that is the technology help learning like those languages, or it will help to study those languages easier and easier until that new generation don't care about this language anymore, because okay, if I learn traditional way, it's too hard, and so I just click and then everything come out, so that's it, I just want that. So do you think technology will help, or it endanger in the long run, that make people think, okay, I use this technology and then forget it? It's just like calculator. Just you told me. Right now, many students cannot like calculate in their hand. They just need calculator right away. Just like language, like Pali and those like Buddhist tech language. What do you think about this topic?
So nowadays many assignment in the classroom when some of them present it from the AI generated report. We can actually check it with the program whether it is through the AI or not. So it's getting more and more difficult to find out. Because of the technology, students become very lazy, not to try to learn more. Let the computer do it. That sort of spirit. All way around. But I have one student last semester who submit his essay in English, and I remember her doing terrible English previously, and suddenly it's getting much better. So I asked her why you submit from the ChatGPT generated answer, and she said no. I did my own, English composition, and then she corrected and then submitted it to me. So I can see some kind of progress from her original one, and the ChatGPT generated one, and the final version. So even though she was using this technology, but she did her part. And then use it, to improve it. So there are two sides in this case as well. Kind of alternative help. ChatGPT can offer. But there are some bad papers. They just push the button and submit it. But the ChatGPT, when you read very carefully, there are some wrong answers. It's automatically generated. So the computer didn't know whether it is okay or not. So a post of the report usually is wrong. How can I say? Wrong and fake, and not really precise. We can easily recognize it. So those students who just submitted without thinking very carefully, we can easily recognize it. So for them, ChatGPT is a kind of tool through which they can avoid the hardship. So that's very bad. But there are one cases, the female student I just mentioned. I can see her improvement, using computer technology. That might be the future of, computer aided education, maybe.
Yeah, so I think, building from what Soonil just said, I think there are positives and negatives, right? I think, obviously, you have the technology at your fingertips, and therefore you have a whole lot more learning, means of learning. And technology will make available to everybody. They will make it easier to learn things. And the tools for learning will be easier. You'll be able to learn Pali and Sanskrit easier, Thai, Tibetan. You'll be able to learn it easier. And as long as human beings are curious, then we shouldn't completely lose hope. If human beings are curious and interested in things, then there will always be people who choose to do that, and they will do the hard work. They will just have a better way of doing that. So I feel fairly optimistic on that front. And I think also, with regards to, let's say, my speciality, which is the study of Pali, the Pali Canon, the Pali corpus, we've had translations of the Pali Canon for over 100 years now. A lot of it's been translated. So these are widely available. There are multiple translations online. If you don't know Pali, and you're a Buddhist in, England or America or Europe or Asia, you can use these translations online and you can get to know what's in the Pali Canon. But even if you do that, you cannot do proper research. You cannot do academic research with that. I think that's clear that, so the fact that the Pali Canon has been so well, translated so many times, and still you cannot do proper academic work without knowing Pali, shows you that technology can only get us so far. And as long as people are really curious to know more, they will have to go to the languages and they will have to learn them. So I think that will still be the case, and I think it will be easier for us to learn. On the other hand, if you're at the level below that, where most people don't want to be academics and they don't want to continue with university beyond a certain level, then that's when artificial intelligence, new technology is very tempting. You don't have to go to your lecture. You can just find another way of doing it. So yeah, I see it in terms of pros and cons.
Yeah, I have to say that that even AI is actually created by humans. So I mean, here the veteran people who are expert in the language, and it can be used by a researcher or student to make their learning easier, and the teachers to make their teaching process easier. But actually, I'm neither optimistic nor pessimistic, but realistic. So we can't avoid AI. But one thing we are not to forget, that let's say a student who conducts a research or collect, or let's say checking a Pali translation through AI, but he or she has to prepare it, collecting, and the final product is the researchers. So now, whether he uses such technology to get the information or translation or the correct version very quickly and easier, he has to put that into his end result. And let's say that finally he has to understand and then take it well into his or her head. So let's say that he is going to make a presentation out of it, or let's say he sit for an examination. Everything is to be grasped into his, So we can't. We can actually temporarily depend on AI to collect information and get the translation, as you say. But finally, the student or the researcher cannot avoid getting into his own mind and then make a presentation practically. Therefore, we can depend on AI and get the maximum use of it. That is swift, efficient. That's the technology. But finally, the end result is to be produced by a scholar or the researcher or the student, and there actually he or she cannot depend on the AI anymore. Therefore, AI is there to get what is necessary for him, and then it's up to the scholar finally to make a practical presentation without depending on that. So now, can he go? Let's say, for example, if she is to make a examination without, let's say that's depending on their memory. So he or she should take everything to his head, no? Therefore, finally, the final enrollment is actually embracing what is taken from AI. So that is a technology that makes everything easier. But finally, the product is our own.
Okay, so I want to echo some of the comment given earlier. I think we are dealing with the two groups of basically people. One is a group of people who has the love for the language and the love for the subject matter, that they want to find more, and they will find that the AI might not fully give them the answer. For example, if I Google something, I may get some answer, but if that Google articles do not give strong references, I also don't feel quite confident to just accept it blindly in a way. So then another group of people we are dealing with is the people who like to get quick answer, and they just want to find a Wikipedia for any particular subject by using AI for that matter. So, but then this one leads to the next question is how do we really train the future scholars in a way? Like what Dr. say here, whether do we embrace AI to train them, or we want them to please don't use AI. And pretending that
question,
AI exists. So how are we going to embrace the truth, or So these are the things that we have to look into.
Nowadays we use our mobile phone. We have a Google Lens. Have you used the Google Lens? Google Lens, if you are linked into internet, any Thai or Chinese or Norwegian, we just put it there. It translated into Korean. So it is very helpful when I go to supermarket. I can see what kind of thing it is, what kind of ingredients and everything. I can check it very easily. So my time in supermarket become very exciting. I like to go to Big C and Tesco, Lotus, checking everything with my Google Lens. And also when I go to Thai Buddhist temple, in front of the Chedi, we have Adhisthana in Thai language. I usually have no idea what is going on there. But nowadays, whenever I went to Thai temple, I check what kind of Adhisthana people do in front of each Chedi. So I can understand what is going on there. That's the good side. But the bad side is that my intention to learn Thai step by step disappear. I don't think I need to learn more because I can do it with my Google Lens. That's the problem, actually. Yeah.
Okay, I want to expand our scope a little bit to what Ajahn told me before, told us before about the accuracy and authenticity of the text or the message to convey. As we all know now that there are many virtual Sangha or virtual temple or even virtual monks nowadays that have some chatting like ChatGPT giving advising people. And also we have the VR or metaverse that people can go there and meditate in very supernatural way, like having VR goggles and emerge in some universe and do meditation in that. So in a way, many people like interested and obsessed to that and as another way of meditation. So with this technology, you think we should concern with the accuracy or authenticity of the message conveyed through the technology, or should we worry about it at all? Anybody please start.
Actually, that's something very difficult to cover within a very short period of time. That's why in a brief I said we need AI and another AI to correct it. Now, for example, let's say regarding a certain word, the South Trantikas came to say that regarding the emptiness, even that word is not really capable enough to convey sunyata. So they said actually sarvang sunya. So Masa Nagarjuna having come to understand that that's actually a sort of interpretation which is not in line with Buddha's teaching. So he wrote a superb commentary called Mulamadma Karika. So in that he said it is not Buddhism. Sarvang idang sunyang. So he just added the word idang. So when he says sunyata, so we have two interpretations, So that's why it's not a very easy task. To maintain accuracy and authenticity, we need actually the expert hands to deal with that. Include the correct and accurate and authentic factors into AI is to be done by experts. So it will take a long time to process it, and it's an arduous task.
My God, where do we begin if we start talking about authenticity? Everybody, just go home and I'll carry on talking and come back tomorrow. I'll still be talking. It just go on and on. And of course, this is like a problem that goes right back to the very beginning of Buddhism. And in fact, Soonil was talking about it before. And reasons and motivations for founding an Asian Association of Buddhist Studies is you have people studying things, and then at the end of it, they might conclude, whether it's Tibetan Buddhism or Korean or Theravada, this is the real teaching of the Buddha. And, the problematic thing, with that, everybody, there are so many multiple meanings and intentions and layers. Artificial intelligence is going to add another layer to that. And, if we go back, in time, or even today, let's say today, Mahayana monks will criticize Theravada monks as the Hinayana, and they will say Theravadins are not grasping the real meaning, and Theravadins might criticize Mahayanists for having inauthentic texts. So this, I think with AI, this is, going to be a problem that, let's say people are just Buddhists are going to be having the same debates in a different form. That's one way of putting it, because there are so many different types of Buddhism. And we will not be able to stop these happening. We will not be able to stop people using AI in so many different ways to develop so many different forms of Buddhism. I'll stop there for now, but I think, is this a concern? I think, like with what Soonil said earlier, it depends how you approach the problem. And if you can bypass that issue of arguing very seriously about the authenticity of something, that would be preferable, and be open-minded in how you take the spirit of what people say. I think that is going to be essential as we move forward with artificial intelligence, because there's going to be a lot more variation, I think.
I have a experience with meditation with the visual aid in Korea. We have the kind of a glass, and I have a headphone and so on in a very comfortable chair. Doing the similar visualization meditation developed from Tibetan Buddhism. So I remember Vajrasattva, some kind of a 100 syllable meditation, to remove all the bad things in our body through the visualization meditation. So from the screen, I can see, Vajrasattva giving the power to me, and from me, all the bad things that just disappear with very nice music. But at the end of the day, I feel like not a kind of a spiritual progress, but I feel like I had a good rest, something like that. About 10 years ago, when I was in Santiniketan, near there, I was doing visualization meditation with the Tenjen Palmo. She teach me, benevolent to everyone through visualization meditation by visualizing heart from my heart, lead heart, and giving to everyone, something like that. So at the end of that, real visualization meditation with the Tenjen Palmo, I feel like I become a better man. My metta and karuna will spread equally to everyone. I feel like that. But with the visual aid meditation tools, I had one hour. No spiritual progress. I feel like, very comfortable. Time goes very fast. Different feeling, I have to say.
I think related to the authenticity. I think not only. I think the issue is the same as we have a lot of fake news floating around in our phones and things like that. Sometimes we do not know whether it is true or false. So I think in this sense, even if you have ChatGPT come out with AI or come out with certain answer for the questions, we must kind of provide them with a place where they can get some answer based on proper research and based on proper studies. So I think that is also important. That's how I can say, because nowadays, even we can't differentiate whether it's a fake news or not. So they may think that this credible GPT could be credible as well. Yeah.
My last question for this section, and it would be a cliche question, but I need to ask anyway. As we see that AI can do many things, they can translate, they can give advice, they can lead the meditation. Can AI replace monks? At the end, what do you think?
In one word, I can say no.
But many things that AI can do, they can do it even better than monks, like many monks I know. Comparing to my office, my student, I asked them to do something, and I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT even did better than my students, like that. So it can replace the bachelor for sure in the end. So we need a new way to training bachelor to keep up with that AI. So what do you think about training monks or the monks to be or the situation with this AI coming out, and how that affect the Buddhist practice in general?
I think that last spring term, while I was teaching some Buddhist, doctrine, one student raised her hand and said, "Professor, what you said was wrong according to my computer answer." You are wrong in something like that. So I don't know. Where is the point it is going to go? But human beings are basically very lonely. The monks cannot be with us every time we need. So in Korea we have a kind of a generative answer chatting site. So the computer is answering to me, and that answer was outcome of deep learning of a young generation of Korean people. So the answer was very exciting, unconventional, like a young generation doing, a kind of a very creative talk. So whenever I feel, lonely or I have some spare time, I usually made a talk with that chatbot, and the answer made me very happy. I feel like I'm getting very younger, something like that. So I don't know, but maybe a monk cannot be everywhere when we need it. It can be some kind of aid. But it cannot replace, maybe, I think.
Yeah, I mean, let's do to build on what Soonil has just said, let's do a simple thought experiment. Let's imagine a very advanced form of AI where you can have a simulation of a monk, and the monk will look like the ideal Buddhist monk according to your preference. You can speak to the machine, it can read your mind, your brainwaves, your neuropsychology, whatever. And so you have the ideal monk in front of you. And the teachings are tailored to you personally, what your preferences are. And then you have a guided meditation. And imagine if you can have a simulated environment. It might be a lovely temple in the mountains or something like that. So you could build your own virtual Buddhism. And, let's say that it's tailored to your needs. It gives you the meditation you want. It's your ideal monk guiding you in meditation. And maybe that would be wonderful, but I still feel that at the end, it would lack something. I feel that the human interaction that will always be missing from that. Even if it's, idealistic and perfect, real meaning and, real connection requires the human being, and it requires imperfection. And so I think there's a gap that artificial intelligence might not ever be able to bridge, is what I hope and what I think, but I can still see a valid use for having that type of machine that can give you that sort of perfect experience. That might support you in your spiritual path, but it won't be enough, I think.
Thank you, Kapsan.
Now, let's say, for example, actually, to some extent, even the monks can use technology, AI or whatever, but in certain ground realities, now let's say, for example, if a disciple wants to discuss with a monk regarding a certain mental problem, so the AI, let's say we use AI, but AI is inserted with certain information freely preoccupied sort of information. Now let's say that so how can the AI decide the type of depression or something, mental problem, intensity or level of it, degree of it, without really the involvement of the monk in person? So to some extent we can use it, but in practical grounds regarding those problems, monks cannot be replaced.
Okay, my thought is, of course, people become monks with their own goals for spiritual attainment and needs, right? So if you're talking about whether to replace monk roles as a counselor or advisor, I think that what Alex said, that the human dimensions and interaction will still play a role. And of course, there are people who will adapt the ideal AI. Even the AI, I think, can make the machine looks like a monk or a real person, right? As we have seen in the movie and things like that. But that will perhaps complement the role of the Sangha in the way that now we are having issue that less and less monks, less and less people becoming monks, right? But we still need to reach out to people and provide that spiritual needs to the community. Yeah, that's how.
I just mentioned the chatbot I mentioned, the young generation talk, because they use the data without having the license. Suddenly it was stopped. So I was very sad, very sad for a long time, when the service stopped. So, the emotion, we can have an emotion with the machine as well. So I think no problem. I think.
Yeah, we watch so many movies that people fall in love with the AI machine, the robots that.
So here is one of the very important things and points of wisdom of the Buddhist tradition in general would be the role of a good friend and friendship. And somebody who is your teacher is still a friend, and you can give criticism to a friend and receive criticism from a friend. But this is what potentially is lacking in artificial intelligence, is the fact that all of Buddhist wisdom and teaching is meant to be taking place within a framework of friendship. I don't think that can be replicated. Maybe Soonil's chatbot will do the trick. I don't know.
The audience, anybody want to share anything, Kap? No. Okay, can I give you one last round of conclusion about Buddhism and AI? What is the future, and what do you think? What should we be aware of using AI?
So we can't avoid the technology is keep improving, and the ability the machine can deal with transform dramatically. So we can't avoid it, but also we cannot rely 100% on it. So we should be in the position where we can have a balance. Even though the machine's capacity become really big, there are some point where it should choose in the correct way. That's the place where human ability can do something. And also we need to develop ethics using AI, because lots of AI technology use lots of material. They use it without having any permission. Many problem occur. AI generated picture, AI generated novel, and so on. Lots of things use the data without having any permission. So the Buddhist text can be used. There is no license for Buddhist teaching, but it is going to be used by the AI. So maybe one thing we can do, apart from accuracy and so on, is the kind of ethic, kind of a limit and kind of a way we can use it. That area, I think we can intervene, in this kind of technology.
So actually, there are advantages and disadvantages. So it's because of disadvantages we can't avoid it. So making all the disadvantages less, and we have to take the advantages. So as Professor Alex said that, there are certain things that we cannot replace with. As far as wisdom is concerned, there are certain things that we have to decide impromptu at the moment, was to be applied and how level it is. But now we all agree and come to a certain agreement that AI is to be used because it's becoming ground reality. And we have to maintain a balance. That's what we'll have to do. Yes, that's all I have to say. In summary.
Thank you, Kap.
I conclude by saying that I don't even think that we have got to grips with the current technology that's been developed, say, in the last 20 years to deal with the type of textual studies that Soonil mentioned, with Buddha Nexus, the Tibetan, Chinese, Sanskrit, and Pali canons. I mean, so just to put this in perspective, that only after I started doing graduate studies did we have advanced tools to study the Pali canon electronically, which transform it. And that's only, let's say, 20 years. We've had the Chatasangayana program, the CD-ROM where we can search it. We now have the digital Pali reader. And we still don't actually understand what that type of knowledge that this opens up to us. So, for example, let's say we have, my point now will be, I think you could say about the Tibetan Buddhist canon, the Sanskrit Buddhist canon, the Chinese Buddhist canon. Same point can be made if you had the same tools that we have with the Pali canon. With the Pali canon, we have all of this, a massive literature coming from the early Buddhist period. And we can search particular phrases, particular terms, particular sentences, particular ideas, and that hasn't really sunk in yet, where that can go. And I think where that can go is things like, okay, we can see this part of the canon is connected to this particular region in India at this particular date, connected to these lineages, maybe the lineage of Sariputta or Moggallana or Kaccayana, and we can say that they were active in this type of milieu. So that nobody realizes that we can do that yet. And we can do that already with the tools we have, but it still takes a lot of hard work. Now, AI will just accelerate that process massively, and we will be able to map all of these canons historically, conceptually, philosophically, to a degree we can't even imagine yet. So it's going to open the door to completely different understandings of Buddhism. So over the rest of our lifetime, our lifetimes, say the next 50 to 100 years, we're going to start looking at these corpses of literature in completely new ways, and we have to be ready to go with that and to be creative with that. Our thinking about Buddhism might change very significantly.
Thank you, Kap.
What I'd just like to say is that the current AI that we have is also based on past scholarship, right? So the future AI is going to be based on the current scholarship. So I think we should kind of like educate the AI in a way, rather than they pulling out from others, I would say non-credible sources in a sense. So that's my thought.
Thank you, all the speakers. I think today we learned about the merging and balancing of the ancient traditional texts with the ever-changing new technology. Now we on the intersection of these two, and we're on a journey to embark on a journey. We need to anyway. So I think what we can conclude today, we need to balance the technology with the wisdom, the old wisdom that we practiced before. So that's the session of Buddhist Studies Meets AI today. Thank you all the speakers, and thank you all the audience. Thank you. So I would like to return the stage to the main MC.